So I came back with my paperwork like, look, guys, it's just the flu. And only in 2020 could you try to turn to some people and be like, hey, let's work. It's only the flu, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, so we decided I'm putting me inside of the diner. So when you look at the cover of the album, you could see me sitting at the table by the window. And that was just to socially distance me from Anthony and Murphy.
What's up, everybody? Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. As y'all know, it's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to you guys as often as possible with as many interviews as possible, as many icons of the game as possible. So please hit the subscribe button. It's right there. And we appreciate it. And we appreciate you guys getting us to this point. Now, today for cover story, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Slug. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Yo, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Now, Slug is a man of many groups, of many interests, and of many recordings. So today he has decided to do Felt, the group that he's in, with Murs and a wide-ranging, I guess, group of producers that come in and out of the Felt world. But he wanted to do Felt for You, the most recent Felt album, the fourth Felt album. And this one, the cover is intriguing to me because the first one, Christina Ricci, didn't have a car, but all the other three have some variants of a car and the back end of a car on top of that. So what's going on with Felt for You and the back end of the car in this and the other three albums?
Listen, I'm gonna just dive right in and say, the back end of the car being on Felt 4, that was not necessarily intentional for any reason other than that's what looked cool in that environment. We were kind of trying to pay homage to a Alexander O'Neal album, where he's standing in front of a car in Mickey's Diner on the cover of his album. We parked the car in front of the High-Low Diner and put Ant on the car because he is the most Alexander O'Neal out of the three of us, Now I want to kind of rewind for just a second before we go too far and say Felt 1 did have a car. It had two cars actually on the back of it. The front cover was just a kind of a close-up of me and Murphy sitting in front of a window, and behind us there's two cars parked out there. And I can't remember if you could tell or not. You must not be able to tell, but it's behind the curtain. I know that.
It's definitely obscured. Yeah.
Okay. And then we go outside and took the rest of the pictures in front of the cars. And that is pretty much what sparked off the car game for me and Murray. We Dan Monick is the photographer that has done all of the photos for all four of the Felt albums. And in the beginning, we started, we shot at Dan's house. Or his he didn't really have a house. He lived in a storefront on Sunset in down close to like Silver Lake. He was in Silver Lake in Los Angeles. So he lived right on Sunset. He had a storefront, and you go into it and it's like a store, but instead of stuff to buy, there was like furniture. He lived in there, you know what I'm saying? And so we took pictures there, and out in the back there was a bunch of cars always parked back there, but I think he had a Volkswagen Bug. He was into those. And so we were like, yo, we got to put the Bug in the picture. And so we did it, liked it, and continued that with every piece of art afterwards. 2, 3, all the way to 4, still him taking the pictures. Now, Grouch wasn't in any of the photos on Felt 1, but Ant joined us for the photos on Felt 2, and then Aesop Rock was in the photos for Felt 3. And then when Ant came back to do Felt 4, he came back to join us. And that's when we thought, yo, we're going to do this in Minneapolis in the winter outside. We're going to do the Alexander O'Neal album cover just like he did. But he was in St. Paul in the winter outside. And we even had a song on the album called Alexander For Real. So we thought, okay, this is going to be tight. It's all going to come together. We booked a photo shoot. I had a show. It was a homecoming show. I was on tour for the last few months. And at the very end, Merce was going to fly in for the last day of the show and be a surprise at the show. And then the next day and Dan was going to fly in and he was going to take pictures of the show. Like we were making a big thing out of it. Like, hey, there's an atmosphere show, but we'll get some felt stuff done. Come on out, kick it. So Dan came home for that show. Merce came out for the show and to do the photo shoot the next day. Well, I came home from tour with the flu from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Don't know if you've ever been there, but shout out to Saskatoon. I love that city. And nonetheless, I caught a flight back and brought the flu with me. And this was February 29th of 2020. So COVID was already like moving around and I'm off this flight feeling super sick. And so Dan's like, yo, you got COVID. I'm not taking photos with you. And everybody's like, yo, we gotta, you know what? And I'm like, you know what? We gotta protect everybody. I went and I got tested. It was just the regular flu. But I feel like they were just kind of trying to shoo me out the door anyway, the doctors, because I don't think they had any real good way of deciding who had COVID yet. You know what I'm saying? But they were like, oh, you definitely tested positive for influenza A. So I came back with my paperwork like, look, guys, it's just the flu. And only in 2020 could you try to turn to some people and be like, hey, let's work. It's only the flu, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, so we decided I'm putting me inside of the diner. So when you look at the cover of the album, you could see me sitting at the table by the window. And that was just to socially distance me from Anthony and Murphy. And so it's weird because we made the record in the summer of 2019 and we were dealing with 2019 mentality with 2019, you know, even topical, you know, that's how rap is. It's like, if you really pay attention, oftentimes the stuff the rapper's talking about was from like the last season. I mean, nowadays it's a little different because you can just make a song and master it on your laptop and put it up on SoundCloud and it's a rap. You made the song this weekend and it's up already. But when you're making albums like old people do, like I do, you know, the album is from 6 months to a year ago. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so the album comes out and we're socially distancing on there. Well, the album comes out later in the summer when everybody's socially distancing. So for me to see that album and to even listen to some of the stuff that we talk about on that album and see how some of that stuff played out over the course of the next 12 months, that kind of tripped me out. That has nothing to do with the cover. I apologize. That's one of those tangents that I run on. You got to just stop me when I do that. Just be like, yo, Sean, shh. Back to topic. So yeah, we're socially distanced. We had also shot and this is pretty interesting. Like if you look inside of the album, there is shots of the three of us inside of this place that's called the Como Conservatory. It's at a zoo here called the Como Zoo. It's a free zoo. They take donations. Well, they have a conservatory there that's like, you know, plants and birds and all kinds of stuff. But in the middle of winter, you know, you're talking about like it's 20 below, but the inside of this place is humid and it's cracking. It's nice and it's warm. And I'm in there with the flu. You know what I'm saying? And there's just people walking around and my photographer, Dan, he's pretty sure that I have COVID. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, you're in here just giving COVID to every old person in here. You know what I'm saying? And I remember being just like, man, I don't have COVID. I have the flu. But it's funny because when I look at those pictures, I could see that I'm sick. It's the thing I always tell my wife. I could see when one of our children are sick. I could see it in their face. And she's like, he's not sick. And then like literally like 24 hours later, the little man is sick. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I see it first and I see it in my eyes in those pictures.
Is that why on the cover you're wearing the glasses?
That's why. No, I think the glasses was just a special touch because I needed to somehow, because you couldn't see that I was wearing a coat. You know what I mean? Like my whole life, I always wanted one when I was a kid. Because you know all the cool dudes in like the New York movies or even the rap videos or Beat Street or whatever, they always had that coat, and I never got to have one as a kid. So, like last winter of last year, you know, year and a half ago, whatever, I was like, yo, I could afford one of them coats now. Why haven't I gotten one of them coats? I should get one of them coats. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're like only like $100, you know, but as a kid, that was like, no, my mom was like, you're not getting that coat. You know, now I could have the coat. So I ordered the coat and I just needed to floss it. You know what I'm saying? So I made sure to wear it in the photo shoot. I also wore it in a video too. I doubled up on that coat because I love it. And I'm going to use it again one of these days. But anyway, I'm wearing it, but you can't tell because I'm sitting behind the glass at a booth, you know, so I wore the glasses to kind of like get the attention to see that there was, I wore the glasses to try to show off the coat, if that makes any sense. Like, this is how my mind works. I'm not a fashion dude. So when I'm like, yo, I love that coat, it's got nothing to do with fashion. It's got everything to do with like, yo, I I didn't get to have those He-Man toys when I was a kid. So now I'm gonna buy them for my kids. It was that kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Here's the funny thing. Nobody sells those coats anymore. I literally had to get that coat from like Kakistan or someplace. I had to get it on Etsy from like overseas, man. And I was like trying to get it for this video and this photo shoot. And I'm like, is it going to come in time? Is it going to come in time? And it missed it. It missed the video shoot. It came after the fact, but I have the coat. It's amazing. And she made it for me. That's the other thing, you know, back in the day as a kid, I just wanted to, you know, mom, come on, let's go to Burlington Coat Factory and let me get a sheepdog. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you can't have a sheepdog. They're $120 or something. And you get this fake down, keep you warm ass coat. You know, it's Minnesota. Why you want a fashionable coat? You're 14, bro. You know what I mean? Like, just, you know, same shit I got to tell my kids now. Anyway, now I got the coat, but it's like the real thing. It wasn't made in a factory. You know, it's like this woman was like, send me your sizes. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So me and my wife are like measuring my chest and all this stuff. And I sent her the sizes and she's like, there's no way these are your sizes. And not only that, but like the English isn't really great either because it's like Eastern Europe somewhere, you know. She's like, these aren't really the sizes. You'd be as big as a bear. And I'm like, yo, so tell me how to do my sizes. And so it takes 3 days for every email to go back and forth because apparently it's a pigeon carrying them over there or some shit. And so by the time we agreed on what sizes, I'm full of anxiety. I'm just like, yo, what is this coat gonna come like? You know, and the coat came and it was dope, except the arms were too long. It was made for a bear. I swear to God, I had to take it somewhere and ask them to make the arms shorter. I forgot about that too. What were we talking about?
The cover for Felt for you, but yes.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the Alexander O'Neillness of it, you know.
So Ant also is the only one looking into the camera. Do you know why you guys ended up with the one with you and Murs looking off camera?
We did all kinds of them, you know. It's like when with Dan, he's just like, all right, yeah, now look over there, you do this, and then afterwards he looks at all of them and looks and sees which one he likes best. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like one of those things, because when you got more than one subject, it's really easy for one of them to like look awkward or to like, you know, look like they just burped or something. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, you know, you don't want to, when it's, you know, you don't want to have to like Photoshop and go, well, I like Merce in this picture, but I like Sean in this picture. So let's just stick them together, like, you know, Pro Tools type shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to punch in for the cover art. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want a single full of punch-ins. You do the punch-ins on the sad songs because nobody will notice. They're too busy, like, you know, making fun of you for being sad
Or crying themselves. Yes.
Yeah, there's no crying in rap. Come on, man. The only people that cry in rap are the actual artists. Everybody else makes fun of them. Are you crying? Are you crying? You sound like you're crying. Your voice is getting squeaky. You crying? You crying? They want to know you're crying.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
I don't know. It's validating to hear a rapper cry. That's why I do it. I just want to validate people. That's all I've ever wanted. Is just make people feel important.
So that being said, with the Felt for You cover, what, now that you look back and we've talked about it, what do you think how does that fit into the legacy of the Felt group and of the other 3 covers that you guys have had?
Oh, I feel like this one in particular shows a lot of growth. If you look at the last one that I did with Anthony and Merce, now granted, that record came out in 2004. So that's, you know, over 15 years ago. But you got Anthony sitting in the front of a primered up El Camino lighting a cigarette. And me and Merce are sitting in the back of that same primered up El Camino in lawn chairs, which is already pretty stupid looking. Like, why are you sitting in lawn chairs? You know, if Anthony drives that car, you guys are going to fall out of the back of the car because what is that called? The center of gravity of you sitting in the back of an El Camino in a lawn chair. That's not a good look. And Ant's sitting there, the way he's lighting his cigarette, it doesn't even look like he'd be able to drive, because it's like, it's just so to see us go from that all the way over to us sitting outside of a diner that's got this, you know, it's lit in a way that gives it an air of class, even though it's a diner, you know what I'm saying? But, and then Anthony with the car, with the way he's dressed, you know, Merce over sitting by the railing, you know, just hanging out, looking like he's waiting for the bus or something. And I'm sitting inside trying to hold in regurgitation, wearing a sheepdog and some sunglasses, like the growth. this album cover, and the reason why I was glad that we were going to talk about this one was because I do feel like, much like the music on the record, the photo actually captures a part of the growth of us as people. You know, I crack a lot of jokes, but when I look at it and I think of how far Anthony has come as a human, and I look at it and I think about how far Merce has come as a human, and I think about how far I've come as a human, I feel like this record captures that. And maybe nobody else will see that. They're just going to see three hip hop people looking cool with a cool car or whatever. But when I look into it, I also see what took place that night. I see why this photo exists. I see the thoughts and the meetings and the brainstorming we had prior to it, and how and why this photo exists. And I feel like it does a super great job of capturing the same thing that the raps and the beats on this album captured, which is there's a certain growth there. And the growth is not just, it's not just a human growth, like, oh, we're wiser and smarter and better decision makers, and we're, you know, and we're all dads and all that kind of shit. It also captures the technical growth, like the distance Merce and myself have come as far as our rapping is considered, and the distance that Anthony has come as far as his beats are considered. You know, when you get older in this, and I think this kind of goes for almost everybody, you get your 10,000 hours in, and suddenly some parts of this become a lot easier. And it's our job to make everything look easy. We're supposed to make it all look super natural. Like, this is natural. I was born like this. And don't get me wrong, nowadays I do think children are born like this. I think that because when they're born, they're surrounded by it because their parents are into it. But I come from an era where my dad was like not trying to hear rap. He wanted to hear Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know what I mean? And so it's like I had to fake it. I wasn't born into it. I wasn't born with the birthright to hip hop, of it being this natural thing. I found a culture that I loved and I wanted to grab onto and learn how to do. I wanted to write graffiti. I wanted to spin around on my face. I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to be a rapper. Well, now I've been doing it long enough that I can do all those things. I can't spin on my face, but I could do everything else. And it's natural, but it's still not, it's still a thing that you got to work at, you got to do. And I see that work. I see it in Merce. I see it in myself. I see it in Anthony. I went a long way to say something I could have jumped straight to, but point being, like, what we may have had to sacrifice to get there is the sound of these young people not knowing what they're doing. And oftentimes that is the sound that can draw us into this art, because that's, you know, that's what this art was built on. It was built on people making something out of nothing and not knowing where it was going to go. There's no ceilings. There's no ideas. I mean, people didn't think they were going to get rich and famous or any of that. People did it because it was like, this is what I do. It gets attention. It gets attention from the ladies. It gets attention from the fellas. It makes me the cool person in the building. That gets sacrificed once you get your 10,000 hours in. And there's no way to fake that. You can't fake that sound or that feeling of that young person who has no idea what they're doing, but they're going for it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, so rather than faking it, what I hear nowadays is a lot of artists my age or from my era that they're comfortable just being who they are right now. And you get to hear the 10,000 hours. And I feel like that's amazing to me. And I see it in a lot of my friends, people who are in their 40s now and still rapping. Some of them are rapping better now than I've ever heard them rap. They're writing, their delivery. It's like, it's a phenomenon, because we didn't have that 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It's kind of a new thing. You know what I'm saying? Where you're, you know, I would say Jay and Nas really kind of, on a bigger scale, they each had an album that showed us that, where it was like, yo, like this, of course, this isn't Illmatic, but Life is Good there was some damn good rapping on that album. You know what I'm saying? And Jay continues to say and do things that it's like, okay, you're rapping really fucking good right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you don't sound like the old Jay-Z, and no, Kanye is not the old Kanye. None of these dudes are who they were, but listen to who they are right now. Like, that shit's kind of inspiring to me. And yeah, it probably doesn't inspire any 15-year-olds, but why should it? Like, 15-year-olds are too smart for that shit nowadays. You know what I'm saying? They got their own fucking thing, you know? But to me, as a listener, who grew up, you know, listening to specifically 80s rap, it's really what I listen to still to this day, mostly is 80s rap. But when I tune in to what rappers are doing right now, I'm just like, man, these dudes are rapping better than my heroes and idols ever rapped. The difference is my heroes and idols did it when I was 17, so it had that impact. But truth be told, man, the people rapping today, the kids, the old people, the babies, whatever, they're rapping way better than my heroes rapped. I'm not gonna say no names, but
well, we'll leave it at that. But yes.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? All right. Wait, one last thing. Yo, we put neon and pastels and weird, like this felt record would look like an Easter egg. Like there was like colors on there that we'd never really experimented with. Like if you look at the other felt records, they're kind of muted. Even Felt 2 it's colorful, but it's muted, you know, because it's film. Felt 3, not only was it muted, but I think Dan Monick did some sort of like wash over the photo to give it like kind of like a textury kind of a feel or something. You know what I mean? Like this Felt album is like colorful to me. And I love that too, because I hear that in the music too. Like it's less, even the music is like more, it's got more colors to it than what previous Felt records had, if that makes any sense.
No, I agree. It's a warmer album sonically, I think. It's richer as well, in my opinion. Never's Enough's one example, Underwater's another example. So there's several tracks on there, I think, to your point, show the evolution of the group individually and collectively. So I think it works.
Right on, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me talk shit about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming through for Cover Story. Appreciate it.
Right on.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.